Armie Hammer was once the picture-perfect face of Hollywood. Striking height, classic features, and a wealthy family steeped in industrial and political lineage. The media dubbed him a celluloid prince. His breakthrough role in The Social Network and the universal acclaim for Call Me By Your Name catapulted him to the zenith of stardom. But what happens when the perfect image shatters? In early 2021, a series of online events would demolish that facade in a matter of days. What follows is a deep dive into the abyss. We will meticulously separate verified reports from major news outlets, distinguish what remains an allegation, and explore Hammer's own defense. I will guide you through this labyrinth using credible journalism, painting a full picture of the saga, the leaked messages, the accusations of violent sexual acts, Hollywood's swift reaction, the path of the legal investigation, and Hammer's own words in his subsequent quest for redemption. Are you ready to confront the darkness behind the dazzling lights?
The Golden Age and the first crack in the armor. Born in 1986 into the influential Hammer dynasty, Armie Hammer's destiny seemed written in the stars. His acting career accelerated after The Social Network 2010 and reached its peak of public affection with Call Me By Your Name 2017, where he starred opposite Timothée Chalamet. The media adored him, not just for his looks, but for the narrative of a rich kid turned serious actor, the perfect symbol of old-world Hollywood charm. Shortly before the cataclysm, he was still being profiled as a deep-thinking actor, grappling with psychology and fame, a figure both beautiful and relatable. But deep within his private life, a storm was brewing, ready to be unleashed by a social media hurricane.
January 2021, the 48-hour collapse. The leaked messages. In mid-January 2021, the floodgates opened. An anonymous Instagram account began publishing alleged direct messages from Hammer containing sexually extreme content. We're talking about graphic descriptions of BDSM, demands for painful sexual encounters, and chilling fantasies of cannibalism. The posts went viral. Then more women came forward, sharing their own experiences with Hammer, describing a pattern of manipulation and what they felt was emotional or sexual abuse. In a matter of days, the messages and accusations ignited a firestorm online. But here's a crucial point. Many reports referred to these DMs as leaked or alleged because their authenticity and origin couldn't always be independently verified. This sparked a public debate. Did Hammer really send these messages? Were they doctored or taken out of context? Regardless, the public fallout was immediate and brutal.
Hollywood retreats, projects, agencies, and the public turned their backs. The film industry's reaction was swift and unforgiving. Within weeks, Hammer was dropped from at least 2 major projects, including the action comedy Shotgun Wedding with Jennifer Lopez. He was subsequently stripped of roles in other productions. His talent agency and PR firm cut all ties. The message from producers and studios was clear. A star embroiled in a sex scandal was a risk they wouldn't take. His rising career was abruptly frozen solid. Beyond losing roles, Hammer's personal life imploded. Reports surfaced of him checking into a treatment facility. Later, he was spotted in the Cayman Islands, working jobs like selling timeshares, a shocking visual downgrade for a man once draped in designer suits on the red carpet.
The accusations, diverse and difficult to verify. Following the wave of leaked messages, several women, Some publicly, some anonymously, alleged they were physically or emotionally abused by Hammer during their relationships. Their descriptions shared common themes: violent sexual encounters, intense pressure, and a pervasive sense of manipulation. Some cases involving serious allegations of sexual assault were detailed by the press. However, many of these stories originated as social media posts, making them incredibly difficult to verify by legal standards. Investigative journalists attempted to corroborate accounts and follow legal proceedings, but a vast chasm exists between a viral social media post and legally admissible proof. This is where the public often gets lost. The emotional outrage, fueled by horrific descriptions, clashing with a legal system that demands cold, hard evidence to prosecute.
The law. Investigation, no prosecution. The DA's conclusion. This brings us to the critical legal chapter. The Los Angeles Police Department launched an investigation which culminated in a decision by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. In late May 2023, the DA's office announced it would not file sexual assault charges against Armie Hammer, citing a lack of evidence to meet the high standard for prosecution. Major news outlets confirmed that no criminal charges were filed against him by that office. This does not invalidate the accuser's experiences, but it means that by the standards of criminal law, there was insufficient evidence to proceed to trial. The DA's conclusion was a pivotal moment, yet it didn't erase the stories told by his accusers. It simply stated that, based on the available evidence, a criminal prosecution could not move forward.
About cannibalism, fantasy or reality. One of the elements that made this story so haunting were the messages referencing cannibalism as a sexual fantasy. In the public's mind, this was the most disturbing detail. A handsome, high society movie star suddenly branded with a fetish for human flesh. Many articles drew a clear line. There's a difference between texting about a fantasy and the actual act of cannibalism. Hammer has repeatedly denied ever engaging in such an act. In later interviews, he described the messages as taking a joke too far, or things said while out of control and on substances, insisting vehemently he is not a cannibal. Investigators found no evidence of actual cannibalism. The criminal allegations never included anything related to it. And yet, internet culture has branded him with this fantasy, a stain that, for many, is impossible to forgive.
The Hammer Dynasty on trial. Documentaries and family secrets. Armie Hammer's story doesn't exist in a vacuum. It pulled the entire controversial history of the Hammer Dynasty into the spotlight. A wave of docuseries and investigative programs like House of Hammer on Discovery Plus explored the family's dark and troubled past, including allegations of abuse and dysfunction spanning generations. Some details in these productions were disputed, with certain elements even being edited or removed after release. These programs helped shape a public perception that darkness lurked just beneath the family's gilded surface.
What Hammer says: denial, admission of bad behavior, and the road to recovery. Armie Hammer has spoken out multiple times. He denies cannibalism and any criminal acts, but he has admitted to bad behavior, hurtful words, and the need for therapy. As reported, he entered a rehab facility in 2021 and embarked on a long retreat from Hollywood
resurfacing years later in podcasts and interviews to try and reconstruct his life. In these recent appearances, Hammer has described his Hollywood cancellation as a painful experience that forced him to confront his demons. He's spoken of depression and suicidal thoughts and is now writing a screenplay, attempting a comeback. While major interviews have documented his words, they've also critiqued him for, at times, downplaying the trauma his accusers say they endured.
The lessons, public opinion, media, and the line between accusation and proof. The Armie Hammer saga forces us to ask ourselves some difficult questions. In an era where social media is the preliminary court, how do we balance believing victims with the presumption of innocence? When a star's private life is dissected through leaked chats, at what point do we consider it hard evidence? And when the media machine paints a man as a monster, is it serving justice or just feeding the online outrage machine? In Hammer's case, public opinion delivered its verdict swiftly. Studios and partners fled, while the legal system operated on a different standard. Without sufficient evidence, there can be no prosecution. This leaves both sides in a state of unresolved tension. The accusers who want their pain acknowledged and justice served, and the accused who wants a chance at vindication, or at least a fair hearing.
Portrait of a modern tragedy. Armie Hammer is the quintessential example of a modern tragedy, a fall of grace, from media prints to a public figure stripped of his right to public acceptance, all through a chain of events that went viral online. The accusations and the lurid details, like the cannibalism messages, have inflicted possibly irreversible damage to his reputation. But it's also crucial to remember this: in the eyes of the law, not prosecuted is not the same as innocent. Just as in the court of public opinion, accused is often mistaken for irrefutable proof. The story is a tangled web of private demons, public condemnation, and a justice system that leaves more questions than answers.